So what happened is that I initially was kind of just doing a favor for some friends.
Okay.
They needed some help about some of their diversity issues, and they said, no, we already did the training.
Yeah, right.
We just need answers to these questions, or trying to figure out, yes, we need to be more inclusive of LGBT people, but we are failing at that, and we don't know why and what's going on. So I just kind of popped off a few answers for them.
Welcome to the Bourbon Friday Show. I am your host, Nick Niehaus, and I am talking to LaShana Lewis today, who's the CEO and founder of LM Lewis Consulting. So, LaShana, thanks for joining us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Excited to talk to you. So, why don't we start by explaining to us what you do, because it's very specific and unique, right?
Yes, very, very pinpoint. Actually, what I do is I go into companies right after they've done their diversity training, and I help them align their initiatives to be more diverse. So I'm kind of that second step. So a lot of people work on the training and they do that, and then it's like they're done. They're like, I'm not working with the company anymore unless they need more training. So I actually go in and I sit down and I talk to, it could be the CEO, some other executive management, it could be HR representatives, it could even be the diversity and inclusion office of a company. And I go and I just kind of sit down and we discuss some of their diversity issues that they're needing to work on. And then we kind of sit down and we put together a plan.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And you can kind of continue working with them until they've figured out the problems, so to speak? Or?
Well, it really depends on how long they want to go.
Okay.
I do have the ability to do a retainer. Sometimes companies want that so that I'm kind of there whenever they need me, or they need to kind of refine or finesse some processes. But usually what I do is I tell them, look, it's going to be at least about 3 months before we see any results.
Gotcha.
So let's give ourselves 3 months, work through all the issues, put together a plan, add some things, subtract some things, and then let's kind of see where we are. And then after the 3 months, if they're where they want to be, or they feel comfortable continue on by themselves, that's completely fine. But, there's always the retainer option where I could still kind of be there in case they need to pull me back in.
Gotcha.
Or we can kind of extend the contract. So.
All right, makes a lot of sense. So one of the things I love about this business is the fact that you've kind of found this space that didn't sound like anybody knew was there almost, right? So tell us a little bit how you got into this initially.
As many things, accidentally.
Okay.
So what happened is that I initially was kind of just doing a favor for some friends.
Okay.
They needed some help about some of their diversity issues, and they said, no, we already did the training.
Yeah, right.
We just need answers to these questions, or trying to figure out, yes, we need to be more inclusive of LGBT people, but we are failing at that, and we don't know why and what's going on. So I just kind of popped off a few answers for them that were applicable to some of the things that they did and didn't do. After a while, my partner tapped me on the shoulder and she said, this is an industry that people need help in.
Sounds like
it. From there, I just decided to, bite the bullet in April of 2018. Gave my notice at MasterCard, where I used to work as a software and systems engineer, and started LM Lewis Consulting.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you're past the 1 year mark.
Past the 1 year mark,
right?
yeah.
And what I thought was interesting, we were talking about before the show, is how quickly this kind of spread, right? Because you didn't go out and start a big marketing campaign or anything, but you very quickly started to find a lot of demand for this service.
Yes. I mean, I've done even some articles for EQ and all of that, but really as soon as I just got together like business cards and started telling people exactly what I was doing, they were just like, can you come and talk with our CEO? Can you talk with our executive management? And it surprised me, because a lot of times people can't get past that barrier. They can't get the take. And so everything from really small mom and pop companies to like marketing companies have also asked me for help, to big Fortune 500 companies that I cannot mention.
Yeah, right. Well, it's fair enough.
But they will be working with me soon on formulating some things to help them. So
that's awesome.
Apparently it's a much sought after.
Much needed. Yeah. So how do you think? Maybe can you, let's start here. Can you give us an example or two? Obviously, don't name any names, right? But of the kind of problems that these companies are running into, because what's interesting is they're going through the training, right? Which is meant to kind of address this.
Exactly.
but it's not solving all the problems, right? So what are you kind of helping them address? What are you seeing out there?
Well, kind of the most obvious, and I'll kind of just put that out there, is that people don't know where to go to get the resources to change the diversity issues that are in their region. So say they don't know where to get Black engineers from, but I happen to know people who are associated with Black engineer associations, and I can just kind of say, hey, let me hook you up with the president of National Society of Black Engineers St. Louis chapter, or let me hook you up with this program that's actually training people in this particular technology that are looking to maybe do an apprenticeship or an internship. And then in that way, I can kind of make all of those connections happen.
Gotcha.
But sometimes it's things like that. And sometimes it's kind of looking at like the retention rate and find out why are people leaving, you know, and just delving into that. So those are kind of the big hot button issues that I get most of the time. And it could be anywhere between maybe just kind of sitting down, talking about the goals and making a formal plan, to actually just kind of sitting down and doing a roundtable chat and letting people fire off whatever questions that they have about a particular thing without feeling like they're offending someone.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right. Well, so yeah, I mean, it's kind of fascinating that there was already this industry to address this, right? But it kind of wasn't going far enough.
Exactly.
Right? So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of this has to do with kind of people's comfort zones in a way, right? Like, what are they used to? What are they not used to? And they hadn't been getting the help of kind of getting over that edge there. Right. Okay. Well, so another aspect of this is, and I would imagine part of how you're able to kind of grow as quickly as you have, is that, you know, you've already got a little bit of a name established yourself ahead of this time, right? You've been invited to the White House, right? You know, it might get you a little bit of credibility, right?
Through a program that's St. Louis-based called Launch Code. Jim McKelvey, who's co-founder of Square, was one of the people who actually came up with the idea of Launch Code. Is to basically take people with non-traditional technical backgrounds and try to put them into these tech jobs that might have had some barrier or another that kept them from doing it.
Okay.
I was actually refreshing some of my college courses from 10 years previous. So kind of out of all clarity, I'll say I'm 43. I went to college immediately after high school, but did not finish 3.5 years. Ran out of money, various other circumstances. So I ended up coming back home. But at the time, whenever they were looking for someone to do something computer science based, they were looking for someone with a college degree.
Okay.
And I said, I know how to program. Can I prove it? And they
can
were
do
just
the job, but you don't have the credentials, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Launch Code kind of came out of that idea because obviously they found out I wasn't the only one that was coming into this program having that same issue. So, you know, fast forward, this was, you know, early 2000s, I started having this problem. Fast forward to 2014, I had done help desk and became a help desk team leader, and I went and I did these certification programs trying to kind of prove my worth in technology. And then while I was refreshing my classes from previous years ago, my instructors were like, you should really look into this Launch Code program. You're a great programmer. You know what you're doing. But I was like, no, you know, I need to finish my degree. And then I sat and I thought about it and I said, you idiot, these are your professors.
They're saying to do it.
They're telling you, right? I was like, if anyone's going to tell you, it would be your professors.
Sure.
So I ended up following their advice, getting involved with Launch Code right when they started Coder Girl. It was very early on. They were meeting in the basement of the Science Center very early on. And they found out after a few weeks that I kind of knew what I was doing, that I didn't need help learning how to program. I already knew. So they ended up putting me into an apprenticeship program.
Oh, really? Okay.
With MasterCard. And got in, worked for a couple of months. Boss pulled me to the side, said, hey, you know, you're really doing well here.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we're thinking about hiring you, but we don't know if we need to wait or not. And I was like, no, you can hire me right away. So I started the Coder Girl effort in June of 2014, and by November of 2014, I was a full-time employee at MasterCard, working with their systems engineers.
Well, that's a remarkable testament to Launch Code, right? Because you spend all this time, you know, I don't quite have the degree, but I have the skill, right? It sounds like even at Launch Code, they recognized you already had the skill, right? So you didn't even have to go through a lot of that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, 2 months apprenticeship, and here's a full-time job.
So because of all of that, I ended up doing a video because, you know, Launch Code was trying to build their bones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And somehow it got in front of President Barack Obama.
Really? Okay.
And yeah, in 20.
Somehow.
Yeah, somehow. I don't know. I was like, I have no hands in this.
Wow.
And loved it. Decided to help create the Tech Hire Initiative, which would base a launch code-like model anywhere in the country.
Wow.
Threw $100 million at that effort. Yeah.
Did you get any of that money? I mean,
no. None of it went to my pocket.
A little bit.
It was like, well, I do live downtown, but no, it was kind of this awesome thing that happened. And because my video was the one that was kind of featured in all of this, I was invited to the White House when President Barack Obama made the official designation that this was something that was actually going out and funded. They wanted to base it on the launch code model, and I was kind of the poster child for a little while.
That's awesome. Wow.
As a result, because of that, I was able to go out and speak, and I was finding out more about people's issues with being diverse in tech and how that was also a barrier to them getting into technology jobs.
Interesting. So, you've addressed kind of two barriers here, right?
Yes.
Which is the credentials, and then obviously there's also these issues of diversity. Which one do you think is causing more problems currently? Maybe it's a hard question to answer.
It really is a hard question. I will say it's probably the diversity because we don't talk about it as much. It's more of the hidden aspect. Yeah. So once we start kind of putting that out in the open, maybe it will start to be more of a back burner to credentials and all of that. But for right now, it's kind of in the forefront because it's a lot more hidden.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and it sounds like that's maybe why this is such a problem is, what you're talking about is you're going to these companies and they're saying we want to do these things,
right?
But we're having trouble talking about them, right?
Exactly.
Or we're having trouble finding the right organizations to partner with, right? How do we, as a startup scene in St. Louis, start to address some of those things? Is it mostly just about having more conversations about it, or what are some other things we could be doing?
A lot of times I tell people to kind of get outside your box.
Okay.
If you're saying that you keep meeting the same people, same time, in the same places, go to different places and you will see different people.
Sure.
And a lot of that is kind of fear-based. Will I be safe? Is everything going to be okay here? Will I be welcomed? And it's just like, you know what? You're going to have to bite the bullet. We all have to go through the uncomfortability with change.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have to say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to get myself together. Bring a friend if you need to.
Okay.
And then, go to that weird networking event in some different area that you've never been before and stick it out and say, you know what, I'm going to at least make one connection.
Yeah, I'm going to go across town and just attend a chamber in a different area with different people.
Right. There's meetings all over. It's just a matter of trying to sit down and say, you know what, I'm dedicated to making this change.
Yeah.
I know it's going to make me feel uneasy, but I'm going to do it because I know I'm going to learn something. Something's going to be different.
So do you think that, obviously this is a problem across the whole country, right? But do you think it's worse in St. Louis? Because obviously we're a pretty racially segregated city in a lot of ways. Do you think that that's making this a harder problem to address for companies in town, or?
It's a little harder because, again, we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
St. Louis is very much of the being nice, but not really saying very, very many things.
Sure.
So, in comparison to the South and some of the coast, people are direct. They will tell you what they're thinking at that point in time, but you can't change something that you don't know about.
Okay.
So I think that's what makes it the hardest here. But then as we have more and more honest conversations, as there are more initiatives going on, we're starting to get closer to not having as much of a gap. But until then, we have to recognize that it's still there because we have a lot of work to do. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's a topic that comes up a lot on the show, to be honest. So, that means it's something we're actually making progress on, I think, which is good.
Right.
But certainly not done. Right. Well, so for the people that are out there, maybe they're running their own business and they're kind of, they're feeling a little uncomfortable at the moment because they're going, you know what, I think maybe I've got a problem with this myself. Do you have some suggestions on maybe organizations or resources they should look into?
So to plug myself, because that's why I'm here, I developed a website. I have a lot of blogs on there. So they're completely free for you to go to read. They're everything from short story vignettes of things that I've encountered while I've been at different businesses. I've eliminated names and things like that. So you don't really know who they are unless you know my entire life history, which that would be a lot. But there's anecdotes and things like that on there. I actually have an email newsletter that you can sign up to, and it tells you like whenever I'm going to be at another event are coming out with another article. I do print for EQ. Okay. I've done stuff for Entrepreneur. I've been in Forbes. So there's kind of links to different articles and different situations from there. Also, I have on there where you can set up a 1 hour with me, free consultation. We can sit and do a one-on-one. It's right there under Connect on my website, lmlewisconsulting.com. And then we can sit down and talk, and then I can kind of go from there and say, okay, what are you looking for? What do we need to change? What do we need to reformulate? And then we can kind of work one-on-one there.
Easy enough, yeah. And free hour, so there's no excuse,
I
right?
know, exactly. I was like, first hour was free, and that's what I would have wanted when I was starting out. So
you can get those first couple questions answered and then take it from there. All right, I like it. Cool.
Awesome.
Well, we got a couple minutes left on the show, so I don't know if you're aware of the format, but we're going to invite Eric on. And Eric is we're going to talk about some bourbon here first, and then we'll talk about some events as well. So Eric, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking Rabbit Hole Kentucky Straight Bourbon.
Awesome.
Yeah, and there's a number of reasons I brought this today. I like one of them is the name. We're both in tech, and you fall down that rabbit hole all the time as well.
Yes, I do. We were just talking about it.
Yeah. You fall down that all the time. Also, rabbit hole is maybe one of those things where you didn't expect to end up being where you were.
Yeah.
The guy that started this, he started dating someone, and she was a bourbon fan, and now he owns a distillery.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He was a Scotch guy.
Converted,
and he converted over, and now he owns his own distillery. And then finally, one thing I know about you is you are a proud bunny parent.
Yes, I am.
And we got Rabbit Hole.
10 years old. Yeah.
So that's a lot of tie-ins. That's good.
Well, I was like, you did really good. I like that.
She had the first or the last one.
Yeah, the last one was the one. The last one, I'm like, that's the one I'm going with. And then as I started thinking about more, I'm like, oh yeah, this really
that describes my entire life. So thank you for choosing it. It smells wonderful.
Well, we're about out of time, Eric, so thank you, as always. LaShana, thank you so much.
No problem.
For joining us today. Great conversation.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are watching, we, of course, appreciate you viewing the show. Please join us again next Friday at 4:30 for the Bourbon Friday show. We are here from 4 to 6 at Covo every week, so we'd also love to invite you to come down and join us one of these upcoming Fridays. So, of course, thank you to Covo for hosting us. Thank you to EQ for streaming our show through your channel every single week. And I have to thank Vanessa Lobo, my business partner at Connect Marketing. She always makes us look very good by operating everything behind the camera. So, as always, thanks for tuning in, and please join us again next week for the Bourbon Friday show.
Hey, thanks for watching. We truly hope you enjoyed it. Please like and share this episode, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. To stay up to date, follow us on social. We are at Bourbon Fridays on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. See you next time.